With the amazing development of globalization, I believe more and more Americans have noticed that the amount of international students has increased rapidly in the recent years. Among all of the students, Chinese no doubt occupy the first position of numbers of students going abroad based on the great population of our country. I remember that the first day for my international student orientation here at MSU, the speech giver wanted students from different countries to stand up and say hello to students from other countries. When it came to China, he said, "Folks, are you ready for this?" And with the laughing and huge noises, I bet three-fourths of the population in the ceremony stood up. In spite of the fact that there are a lot of Chinese students in the campus, they are usually having a hard time leaving because this is not their homeland, and they are seeking friendship with American students. So today, I want to introduce you of the international students' lives in the United States, especially in this campus, and the reason that Chinese students to be shy and making friends with Americans. And I'm going to tell some other interesting facts and stories of the international students. During the year 2012, international enrollments have increased up to 76 and 4,495, with a 5.7% rise over a year. Another amazing fact is that international students and their dependents contribute 21.8 billion to the American economy in tuition and living expenses. That's a huge amount of money. So for the international students, in spite of the fact that there are a lot of us living here, language is causing great difficulties for us. A lot of us have actually learned to speak English back in our countries, but makes huge difference when we come to the country to use this language to completely to communicate, rather than we just use it to study. I want to tell you an interesting story of my friends coming from China. His English is actually pretty bad, and I remember the first time when we went to a Best Buy store. So the shop assistant came by and asked him like, "Hi, what's bringing you to Best Buy today?" And he is actually thinking like, what actually bring him to Best Buy today? And he said, bus. And I couldn't stop laughing, just like the shop assistant. The shop assistant was actually kind of confused, and he said like, "Okay, cool," but I couldn't stop myself from laughing because I know like he's not asking what bring him to the Best Buy store. So that are some basic information for the Chinese students. However, like Chinese students are very willing to make friends with local people. But I believe like some Americans have the feeling like there are so many of the Chinese students and they sometimes have their own groups of friends and refuse to build friendship with Americans. That is actually not true because they are gathering together just because of the reason that they are from the same place. And sometimes they just need to help each other out when they are all in this different country. It has nothing to do with races or nations. And some other Americans feel that Chinese students are shown to be very, very shy. That is actually because of an important Chinese ethics, which tells people to be modest. Different with the American culture that students are encouraged to show and prove themselves, Chinese ethics ask people to keep a low voice and be modest. Another important reason is that some students are afraid to talk to Americans because they do not want to make mistakes and be loved. So we can see that sometimes we are just not knowing each other and their cultures well enough. I believe that as far as we can do that, it's the time for us to build great friendships. And now it's the time to tell some stories about international students in this country. So this is from the internet, but I believe that it has confused a lot of Chinese international students. So here, when people sneeze in a public place in US, we often hear others speaking like "bless you," but rare of the new international students know what it stands for, including me. So when I heard it first, I believe it was my first math class in Michigan State University, I have no idea like what did it mean at all. A few of other students even think that it is a word that telling them not to make noises in public places such as in classes. So that's like a huge cultural shock between the Americans and the Chinese. Another funny thing is that Americans eat a lot of different foods compared with Chinese. So for example, Chinese do like to eat chicken feet, but a lot of Americans would think those are very disgusting. That is actually just a few of them, but I believe Americans are actually afraid of a lot of Chinese food. So in spite of the fact that there are a lot of Chinese students in this campus, they're really having a hard time living because this is not their homeland, and they are seeking friendship with American students. America is a very multicultural country, and I believe that the world will be like this in the future. So people will make friends wherever you're from, and I'm willing to see that thing one day. I believe that day will not be far with all of our hard working and enthusiasm to help others out.